In this Monster Hunter Wilds video, we're going to be taking a look at skills that are good for the Great Sword. There are 148 skills in Monster Hunter Wilds, and some of them are much better than others for the Great Sword weapon. So in this video, we're going to look into what those are and which ones you should be looking for if you are using the Great Sword. The best skills to have in your loadout when using the Great Sword include Focus, Critical Eye, Flare, Stamina Surge, Elemental Absorption, and Convert Element. The Focus and Critical Eye skills are equipment skills that can be found on weapons, while the Flare, Stamina Surge, Elemental Absorption, and Convert Element skills are equipment skills that can be found on armor pieces. The Focus skill is one of the best skills for the Great Sword because while the skill increases gauge fill rate, it also reduces charge time by up to 15% at max level. This reduction in charge time is amazing for Great Sword since the weapon is all about landing your charged attacks and ending with a strong finisher, like True Charge Slash. The reduction in charge time will allow Great Sword users to unleash their devastating attacks faster, quickly taking monsters down. The next skill, Critical Eye, increases the affinity of your weapon. At the max level, it increases your affinity by up to 20%, and if you pair it with weapons that already have high base affinity, for example the Ardian Sword, with max affinity infusion, this skill can easily increase your affinity and critical hit chances to upwards of 50%, enabling you to land even more powerful hits. Although there are Great Swords that have the Focus skill built into them, there are no Great Swords with the Critical Eye skill except for the Hope Great Sword. As such, you'll have to utilize the Decoration slots and Talisman to utilize both skills at the same time in your loadout. The Flare skill is an endgame skill that makes it easier to inflict wounds, and it also adds to the non-elemental damage of a weapon. This skill will increase your flat damage output even further from the non-elemental damage increase itself, in addition to the increased frequency of wounds that you can destroy, leading to massive damage numbers. The Stamina Surge skill has 3 levels, and at the max level it increases your stamina regeneration by up to 50%. This is the best stamina-related skill for the Great Sword because this increase in regeneration rate will let you fill up your stamina bar quickly as you reposition between your series of charged attacks, taking away the need to worry about your stamina when using the Great Sword. The skill Elemental Absorption will increase your elemental attacks and resistance to elemental damage you have taken during your hunt. This is an extremely good skill since it will boost both your offense and defense, letting you deal more damage while increasing your survivability at the same time. The Convert Element skill will temporarily give you Dragon Element effects after taking elemental damage. While active, it will also increase your Dragon attack. This skill can lead to massive amounts of damage as the increase in Dragon attack will increase your damage output against monsters considerably. Although all of these skills are some of the best for the Great Sword, it can be a challenge to get all of them together in a single loadout since you'd have to choose between the Elemental Absorption and Convert Element on the armor pieces and rely on Decoration slots and charms to give you the skills the armor does not have. The next set of skills we're going to get into are not the best Great Sword skills in Monster Hunter Wild, but they are still really good to have on your Great Sword, and you should definitely look for these, especially if you can't find the ones just mentioned. The Charge Master skill increases the elemental damage and status effect buildup of your charged attacks. And since the Great Sword's bread and butter attacks are charged slashes, this skill will increase your overall damage during your hunts. The Weakness Exploit skill increases your affinity when attacking weak parts of monsters and increases the affinity even further when you're hitting wounds or destroying wounds. And if you're using the Critical Eye skill, this skill has the potential to bring your affinity to 100%, making it so that every charged attack you land will be a critical hit, amounting to huge numbers of damage. Maximum Might increases your affinity when your stamina is kept full for a period of time. At the maximum level, level 3, when the skill activates, it increases your affinity by up to 30%. And if you're using this skill with other skills that focus on affinity, this skill can be really amazing as it will be able to bring your critical hit chance to 100% whenever it's active. Another skill that's useful when playing the Great Sword is the Peak Performance skill. The Peak Performance skill increases your attack power when your health is full. At the max level, level 5, this skill increases your attack power by up to plus 20. The reason this skill is not one of the best skills for the Great Sword is that it requires your health to be full to be active, which is relatively hard to do when you're using a slow melee weapon like the Great Sword. Even though there are plenty of instances during the hunt where your health will be full, it will not stay full for long, making the skill less reliable compared to other skills. Another skill that works really well with the Great Sword is the Heroic skill. The Heroic skill increases your defense and attack power if your health falls below 35%. The increase can be as much as plus 30% attack, and defense can be up to plus 100 while active. However, this skill can become a double-edged sword, as the max level will negate all the defense increasing effects, even though it increases your attack by 30%. Although Master Hunters can focus on offense and utilize the 30% increase with low health, this is a very risky situation. Therefore, the optimal level for the average player will be level 4, which increases your attack by 10%, while giving you a defense boost of plus 100. This risk and reward factor of the skill makes it fall into the second best tier for Great Swords, because not everyone will be able to use it effectively. Part Breaker is a skill that increases the damage you'll be doing to weak parts of a monster. In the Greatsword's case, this will typically be the head and tail, and also increases the damage you do when you destroy wounds inflicted on monsters during a hunt. This skill is outstanding for the Greatsword as it will still offer a respectable increase in the weapon's damage output. The only reason it's not in the best tier is because compared to the Convert Element skill, the damage output just falls short. The set bonus skill, gained from having at least 2 pieces of the Doshaguma or a Guardian Doshaguma armor set, the Powerhouse skill, gives you a temporary increase in attack power after a successful offset or a power clash. This can be triggered after any offset attack that wards off the monster's attack, and after winning a power clash, so if you can time your offset rising slash reliably, this skill can be triggered quite often. But this skill has 2 downsides. It requires you to use specific armor sets, and it's not active all the time. You have to trigger it with your attacks, which have a lot of variable factors when you're hunting monsters. As such, even though the skill gives a powerful attack boost, the situational nature of the skill prevents it from being one of the very best skills. And the last category of skills are optional skills that are good for the Greatsword. These are not quite as good as the skills mentioned previously, but are still not bad to have and are better than other random skills. The attack boost skill increases your attack power, and at max level it increases your attack by a total of 4% in addition to +9. This raw increase in attack power will boost your damage while you're putting together your favorite pieces to use in your loadout. The defense boost skill is an armor equipment skill that has 7 levels, and at level 7 it will give you +35 to defense, and a +10% bonus to your total defensive value, in addition to +5 elemental resistance against all elements. These raw stat boosts will make you really tanky, and this is really helpful since you'll be in the thick of it with the monster most of the time during your hunts. The Recovery Up and Recovery Speed skills can help Greatsword users during their hunts, as the Recovery Up skill will increase the amount you heal from all sources, and the Recovery Speed skill speeds up the rate at which you regain the red portion of your health bar. Having these skills will help with your chances of survival during your hunts, as you'll be taking hits frequently, which is why they're here in this guide. Lastly, the Offensive Guard skill increases your attack temporarily after a perfect guard, and at the max level it will increase your attack by 15%, which can really help with your damage output. This skill will really help if you find yourself blocking a lot while using the Greatsword. So that wraps up our video on Greatsword skills. I hope you guys got something out of this one. As always, if there are other skills that I didn't mention here that you think Greatsword users should use, you can leave them in the comments to help out other players.